This video is about the GG, and it's specifically about the pictures in the newspaper that I got a couple of weeks ago. And if you're watching this, hopefully you already know the whole story. If you don't, you should watch the earlier videos about this. But basically, in the person who registered the crab mark sent me these newspaper articles, and I researched them and got higher resolution versions from the library. And let me just show you. So if you go to the PDF and you click on the link to the article, it was a front page article in the Zuger, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I think it means daily or something. Zuger Nitrogen. Front page article on August 4, 1995. And it had these pictures. So the pictures, and then this has the complete English translation in this link also. So that link is on page 68 right now, the relationship of the press and the courts. And then what I did was I overlaid in the PDF, I put the pictures side by side with the GG. And then what I'm going to do in this video is overlay them in Affinity Photo. So you can see comparison scaled and overlaid. But before we do that, the things that I hoped for and that I got out of these higher resolution newspaper articles were some details. Aside from the detail that I think that the case design is actually based on this the watch, the gold watch that appeared in the newspaper, I think is actually based on the chrono. Like, I think that it was probably someone at Swatch that ordered it manufactured by an outside vendor, which I think was probably Lascaux in Italy because it was near Milan and the design center was in Milan. So there's some other pages about that. But I think that the gold watch that appeared in the newspaper was made in 1991 and that it was ordered by someone at Swatch as a gold version of the chrono case shape, Swatch chrono, which had been designed in 89, released in 1990. In 1991, they were thinking about doing the Trésor Magique, so I think it would have been a perfect time for the design center to say, hey, make us a solid gold 1 or 10 or some number in between cases based on the chrono, but without the chrono pushers. And so that could have resulted in the creation of a blank case with no markings that could have been used in the court as the watch that the registrant supposedly made himself. And then it could have been dressed to look like the GG. So that's kind of where we enter this part of the story. So in the newspaper, I was hoping, because I knew that the dial in the GG had these kind of handmade markers, hand inserted gold dot indices. I was hopeful that either the newspaper picture would look exactly like the GG, in which case there would be a high chance that it was the GG, or it would look different, in which case there would be a high chance that it was some other watch that looked like the GG. So what happened was these three indices are obviously out of line. So unless they were altered on purpose for some reason, this is a different dial on the watch that appeared in the newspaper, because the GG's dots are aligned on the 9 o'clock position, and this one is pretty badly out of alignment. The other thing is at the 12 o'clock position, these two, again, the middle one is out of alignment, and it's also kind of evenly spaced between the other two. But on the GG, they're in alignment, but they're not evenly spaced. These two dots are closer. I should use a bigger mouse pointer. Let me do that. So So these two, at 9 o'clock, these two indices, or these two dots rather, are really close together. And on the one that appeared in the newspaper, it's more evenly spaced. Now, what's interesting about that is that, to me, that suggests that this blank wasn't even a Seamaster Cosmic blank, because the reason that these two are so closely spaced together is because on the Seamaster Cosmic blank that I have and on the GG's dial, those three holes are pre-drilled by Singer, and they are drilled to help you position the indices from the Seamaster Cosmic. And there's three at that position, I presume, because it's 12 o'clock. So if you're looking at the dial from the back, or if you're placing it unpainted in the pad printer, it's easy to orient 12. Because the middle hole, which is not centered, is unnecessary for the indices, which only have two pins on the back of each one, which we can see from the indices on the Seamaster Cosmic that they only have two drill points at 3, 6, and 9. At 12, it has three drill points. Presumably, the extra one is for a visual for the pad printing. But on both the GG and the Cosmic dial that I have, those two are closer together. And that's why they couldn't place these indices uniformly when they made the GG. And I think that's also why they made the decision to place the other ones not uniformly, because these two had to be not uniformly. This is a bit odd at 3 o'clock because they kind of skewed it the wrong direction in a way, but that is what seems to have happened on the GG. Now, on this one, these two holes should have been closer together, and they should have forced these dots to be closer together if it was a dial from the Seamaster Cosmic from the same series as the ones I've examined. And that's elsewhere in the PDF. If you go back to the dial section, you can see that. But anyway, it's definitely a different dial because of this dot, unless the photograph itself was manipulated to make it look like it was not the same dial. The hands look the same. You only see them in outline form, probably because the lens of the camera was reflecting. Here you can see my camera lens. It's black, and when I was shooting this, if this black area overlaps the hands, they appear black because they're reflecting black instead of the white lighting. So that's why this is off center in my photograph. Here, they probably had a lens right here that caused the hands to be darker. Nevertheless, my belief is that these two cases are chrono design and GG is a different design. So now let's get on to the affinity photo. So this is the chrono skipper, which was it's dated 1989, but the chrono was released in 1990. So it's one of the first chrono watches made. And here we're just switching between the overlays. So what I tried to do to get the scale correct was put this blue line at the edge of, this is actually reflection in the metal of the watch. It looks like it could be a tear in the strap or something, but it's actually the edge of the watch is picking up on some red reflected over in that direction. And then here, it's the blue or green here is the edge of the watch. So that's why I lined the blue line there. And then on this one, because it's higher contrast, it's easier just to align those. So that was just how I did the scale. And then this line over here is to line up with the crown, where the crown meets the case. And then you can kind of see the gold watch and the skipper are aimed in different directions slightly. Like they could have been laying side by side and they were cropped into separate pictures, but for whatever reason, the angle on them is slightly different. The gold watch is aimed a little bit that way, and the blue watch is aimed maybe straight, maybe a little bit that way. In any case, if we compare the gold watch with the GG, what this black here is reflection of the strap in the GG. And that's why I've placed the blue line higher there. So the problem is the pictures are not absolutely flat. And so it makes it tricky to do this. But let's just, for fun, just compare these three dots. GG, other watch. And then let's look at these. Okay, here's another thing I did. This I used a white circle as a reference. So on the blue watch, the skipper, you can see that this line here is white line, and it's I think it's part of the dial, but it could just be the very edge of the crystal. You can see it's quite white up here. As it comes down around here, it turns more bluish, which could be from catching this blue light that's some up above the watch. In any case, I think that this is crystal because it's not blue plastic, right? So if you turn on this overlay, you see that crystal size is larger than this white disc, which is just a white disc I created. And the reason that's interesting is because if you look at the GG with that same disc and everything scaled the same, the GG there is no white line outside of the white disc. The white the last part of the crystal, which also appears white here, is just inside of that disc. And the difference between those dimensions are it's very small. Let's go back to that tool 107. GG's crystal 32.95. So the crystal of the GG is 32.95 millimeter diameter. The crystal of the Swatch Chrono is 33.5. It's a half a millimeter. It's 33.4 or 33.5. It's a half a millimeter diameter greater. So that half a millimeter is not a lot. But that's what I'm trying to illustrate here with these yellow lines crossing the white line here, or measuring the outside of the outside crystal line here. And then on this, you can see that the outside of the crystal line is actually kind of in the middle here. Here it's coming right up and touching the yellow line. And here it's coming, oh wait, that's that line. Actually, I take it back. I think there's multiple lines here. I think it's in the middle on both of them. But let's look at the overlay again, because that's the point of the overlay. So the point of the overlay is you don't see any white on this. You do see white on that. And you do see white on this gold watch in the newspaper. And I want to look at how much it matters if I scale this, the watch layer of this, if I scale it just a tiny bit. What was that? I think if I do shift, oh, it's not scaling it. I wanted to scale it with locked aspect ratio. Where's the aspect ratio lock? Or where's a manual way to scale it? Well, I'll just try to do it the same. So what I'm trying to do is look at, if I scale it to the point where that white line is outside, still not outside. Okay, now it's starting to be, at least you can just barely see it around the edges here, the white of the crystal. But now if we compare that with the gold watch, see, we've scaled the whole, to get that same crystal occlusion from this white disc from the GG, the whole watch is now much bigger. And this is basically the argument I'm making. I mean, look next to the crown right here in this area. This is how much I had to scale it to get the same crystal occlusion. That's a lot of scaling going on there. And you can see the whole watch is scaled up. So that's why I think that it's pretty clear from the newspaper article that the gold watch has a slightly larger crystal and slightly less, as a result, less of a gold body around that, whatever. Now let me see if I can undo some of this. Okay, I think that did it. So back to the original, this is with the scale the same. I think you agree that the scale looks better on this. I think there's a little bit of watch loss to white light, highlight right on this edge. But overall, the scale is similar, particularly on the crown area. And again, if you look at the white disc and you look at the white ring around the white disc, that's basically what I'm using as my measurement. So it's hard to be 1,000,000% scientific in this situation, but it's better. It's great to have the newspaper pictures. They're certainly amazing evidence to have, and to me, they strongly suggest that they support my theory. So what else did I write here? Watch my video. Yeah. So that's basically the video about that. The other thing is the lighting. The in the same newspaper in 1991, from Zug, I found this ad for Rado Diastar Ceramica, and then if you click on that, you get an image of this is one that was just selling on Ricardo, Originally purchased December 17, 1990. Rado Diastar Ceramica. It's a black dial with dots at 3, 6, 9, and 12. And this is the same watch that's advertised in the newspaper. You can tell because it's square, and you can see the square facets of the strap here. You can't see the dial here, but that's why I Googled it. And then that's why I felt like there's a high probability that somebody would refer to this black dial as a Rado dial, not literally Rado, but as in terms of what would have been considered a Rado look at that time, 1991. The final thing was the rainbow lighting. Let's see, the position of the dots, cosmic blank, badly misaligned dot. Yeah, finally the rainbow lighting is pretty strange for a police photo. I mean, the real question is like, how did the newspapers get this photo? Who gave them the rights? In newspaper publishing at that time, rights were a pretty big deal. Swatch and their publicist, if I'm right about Baumgartner, kind of working as a publicist at that time, or working with a publicist to write a story that Swatch was trying to get out to multiple newspapers, which I think is logical conclusion from the fact that two newspapers ran the same story with the same pictures. Then the question is, who took the picture? And another interesting thing about the picture is that the pictures appear to be kind of haphazard, like the tang in the buckle here is in a wrong position. It doesn't really look like, in the newspaper, it doesn't look like it's meant to look like a marketing photo, the way these do. But at the same time, it does look like it was photographed professionally because of that rainbow color pattern. It looks like like somebody photographed that to stand out. And the chances of like a police station having lighting like that, or somebody's home or something, again, we have to assume that Swatch was in control of this, and it looks like it was taken at Swatch to me, because Swatch was into rainbow colors and colorful things. So it looks to me like it was taken at their design center. I could be wrong. There's no evidence of that. It's just like, you got to ask, how'd that happen? I think there's another thing about this, which is, let's look at this again. Yeah, like it's the front page of a color newspaper, and there may have been a sense of like, let's make it eye-catching. The other thing is how they get it on the front page. Why was that front page news? Baumgartner, it just looks like the work of a publicist. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.